Have you ever wondered why music in Unreal Engine, or probably most game engines by default, just stops when you transition between different levels? Well, in Unreal Engine, that's a common case, and I'm here to fix that for you. So, I've just uploaded my plugin that I created for my game, Code Black. It's free on Fab, and it does cost money for professional use, but what it does is make sure that music doesn't stop between level transitions and is persistent. And of course, when you enter a new level, you can always change the music, which is something I do here. So, yeah, this is what it does. Okay, you can see I started on my new music, and if I press pause, go back to the main menu, it fades in. Now the level transitions, of course, are pretty quick, but if you have longer loading times, then the music will continue to play. So, for example, I have a bigger level that I haven't loaded in since opening the project in editor, and if I load into it, it'll probably take a bit, and it'll take the music will not hitch. It shouldn't, and it'll continue to play until the level loads in. And then it starts the new music. Of course, in editor, I might need to wait a little longer because the game itself is not very stable right now, as is, until things load in. But the music, nothing wrong with that. So, if you have already downloaded the plugin and installed it to the engine you're using, then you can kind of skip some of this first part. I am going to show how to install the plugin to your project. So rather than installing it just to the engine, which is sometimes preferred by people if you want it available to all your projects. If you don't, and you would rather just add it to your project, then this is also a completely okay method to use. I already have the plugin, so I don't need to, but if you want to just add it to your project like this, you can install it to your engine first. I'll create the project first, and then I'll show you where to find that file here. I'm going to create a third-person project so we have a little guy to run around with, and I'll put it projects temp, sure. I'll just call it my test project for now. While this is creating, you can locate the download location for the plugin in the engine if you want to just add it to your project instead. Find the location of your engine install. In engine plugins, there'll be a folder in here called Marketplace, and anything that you install from Epic Games, anything you install directly to that engine will show up here. A handy place to find it. So with the project open and created, of course I don't have the plugin yet, so I'm just going to close it, and I do already have the folder open where my project was downloaded. The way to add it to just your project is you want to create a folder called plugins. And I already have the plugin downloaded, as I said, so I'm just going to copy the folder to here. This would be the same as copying it from the marketplace folder in the plugins, the engine marketplace, or engine plugins marketplace folder. Sorry. So I'd already have it compiled for 5.7 because I did open it when I installed it. So all I have to do is open up the project, and that's it. So yeah, if you already installed it from the marketplace to your engine, you don't have to worry about that, and you can start here. First of all, I guess I can open this up, and you can see the plugin will be installed now. In the third person folder here, we have the third person player controller. So I do like to put the initial kind of setting of the music in the player controller. And they do have some stuff already in here in the third person player controller. So I'm just going to continue from that. And all you need to do to access the persistent music system from anywhere in the project is just search for persistent music. I just typed persist and it showed up here at the top. So with this, it is accessed actually very similarly to the enhanced input local player subsystem. So inside here, if I search for persistent music, I get 6 different functions here. So there's set music, stop music, play music track, get current sound playing, get current music, and get audio component. I'll go through and explain all of these, but the only thing we need to know about right now is set music. What this will do is it not only sets or changes music, it also starts the music. So if you don't have any music started at all yet, since your game is launched and initialized, then this is a way to set it and also change it. So it says starts or changes the current music playing on the audio component. And if the play music track was recently called and playing, it'll stop all timers for the music track and overrides music with the new sound to play inputted here. If stop music was called recently and is not yet faded completely out, then this will interrupt that and music will fade back into whatever this new sound to play is that you input here. So let's plug this in, and I need a couple sounds because I don't have that yet. So I'm just going to create a folder called audio, and I'll create another folder called music, and I just have to find some music quickly. So if you have some music, go ahead and import it. I have some, let's do like sci-fi, sure. I don't really know what this is. Let's take 2 songs because we're going to change the music as well. So I'll just select this first one and I will select it here. It does have a default fade out time of 2 and a fade in time of 2. Because this is the first music we'll be starting and not really changing it, we don't really need a fade out duration at all. So I can just set that to 0 and have a fade in duration. And we want to start at 0, 0 in the song. So let's save that. To show that it works, we'll just press play. Good, that's some music. So I don't really have a main menu in here to be able to change levels. Show playing, but we can change the music first. There's a handy little actor I put in the content folder. So if you go navigate to the plugins persistent music content, there'll be 2 things in here, an enum for music trigger behavior and a actor for music trigger. If you don't see this folder, you may need to navigate to the cog wheel over here, the little settings icon, and make sure you have plugin content checked. Otherwise, you probably won't see this folder. So you can drag this actor into the world, and it's pretty much just a trigger box. So inside the blueprint, which I will show after, it has a few options. I'm just going to change the size of the box quickly and place this in the corner a little bit. So what this does is either sets music or stops music. So that's the trigger behavior. And I have a required tag to trigger. So in order for an actor to be able to trigger this, it needs to have a specific tag. So we're going to be running into it with the third person character. So inside here, I'm just going to search for tag. And under actor tags, I'm just going to make sure to add the tag player. And a safer option is to always just copy paste this. Of course, it's not hard to spell. That's pretty much all you need, except for assigning a sound. If you don't have a valid sound, then nothing will play. Save this first. So let's find that second sound so we know that it changed. And I'll assign that. And because, sorry for the small window here, I should make this bigger. So the fade out duration is 2, and we'll already have music playing, so I may as well leave that as 2. And you can make it longer, of course, if you want. You can make it as long as you want. So we have our starting music play. And then when we walk into the box, it should fade out. And go into our second music. So inside the music trigger blueprint in the plugins persistent music content folder, there is a couple things in here. It's fairly basic, so there's not much here. If you've ever just had a box collision added to an actor, you can use override events, on component hit, on component begin overlap and end overlap, and there's a bunch more. But on component begin overlap, what I'm doing is just checking to see if the actor has the tag, so the required tag to trigger, which is the player that I showed earlier, and that's why I added that tag to the player character. So if that's true, then I use the trigger behavior enum, which can be found here. If you decide you want to add different behavior or use this for something else, you can change this if you would like, or you can just make your own. And that way, if there's ever any updates to the plugin, of course, this doesn't get overridden, which might be the case. So I would make your own and create it separately, or duplicate this into a different folder or something. So all it does is if you're setting music, we set music and we use all our inputs here. So fade out duration, sound to play, start time, fade in, fade curve. And if you stop time, then it just calls stop music, and it just uses the same fade out duration and the same fade curve. So these other variables in between are pretty much ignored when you're just stopping the music, and that's pretty much it for the music trigger. So you can do this many different ways if you want. If you're a level designer and you like just working in the level blueprint, there's another option. So you can open up the level blueprint, and there'll likely be nothing in here from the start. In the place actors window, they have a similar thing called a trigger box, and it's pretty much the same as a box collision. And if I drag this into the world and change the size, it won't really have the same options, of course, because it's just a box. So instead, in the level blueprint, also with this selected in the level blueprint, if you right click, you'll have a few options for the actor you have selected. We want to add event for trigger box under collision, and we want to add on actor begin overlap. And it's pretty much the same thing. You can even copy this if you'd like, which of course is the same thing as searching for persistent music and set music. And we can do the same thing as well, and even just copy this. The other actor, if it has tag player, then we want to set a new sound to play, which can be our second music. And we'll compile and save that. And let's give it a test. And it should change after a couple seconds. So, perfect. And if if I wanted to change back, I could easily just set this to the first one. Walk in box. Change to my second music. If I wanted the back. And it's also smart enough to know not to just play the same music. If I walk out of the box and back in, it's even going to give me a log saying unable to set music, sound to play is equal to current sound. So that's kind of nice to have. There is also a couple other functions that I mentioned at the start. There is a few getter functions, I like to call them. There's get audio component. So the thing that's actually playing the music is an audio component. And because it lives on a subsystem, it doesn't get unloaded with, say, the player controller or something like that. It's created on its own. So you can always like get the sound from here if you want, or you can access essentially anything. You can even set the sound directly, and you can fade in, fade out. You can do all the things that pretty much happen and take place inside set music and stop music and stuff like that. And you can do that directly through here if you'd like. Of course, the functions I created are nice and easy. There's also get current music. Yeah, get current music. And this is returning a sound base. Now, this isn't going to return the same thing as get audio component and get sound, because at times you may want to use the play music track, but the reason it won't return the same thing from get current music as uh, the audio component sound here is because at times when you play the music track, it will not change the current music. It will change the sound that's playing on the audio component, but it's not going to set or change what you want to play as your current music. What will change your current music is set music and the music override. So with the play music track, you can play a sound for a specific duration, like a temporary sound almost, or a stinger or a bumper, as some people in audio may call it. And it will fade out of whatever's currently playing. So if you've already called set music, then it'll fade out of that into the sound that you play with a fade in duration and a curve. You can set a custom duration. So the default is 5. Now, if you set the custom duration to 0, it will just play for the duration of the sound that you play. So if it's a really long song, you may not want to do that, and you may only want to play it for 5 or 10 seconds or something. The music override will pretty much set the music after your custom duration is done or the song is complete, depending on what you have here. And if you have nothing here, then it will go back to whatever your current music is. So, yeah, it's essentially a temporary track that you can play over top of your music, and then it will fade back to your music that you had set previously automatically, or you can have the option to override your music when your music track finishes playing. So you can also just get current sound playing, which is the exact same as this. But if you don't want, if you want a cleaner method, then this is also in there for you. The last thing with the music track is the fade between time is the fade out of the bumper or stinger, and the fade back is the duration to fade back into your music. So I will just show how it's used in my game in a little bit more of a complete setup, and hopefully it gives you an idea of what you can actually do with this music system. So let me just open my other project here. If you haven't heard already, I'm developing my own game on Steam. It's called Code Black. Please wishlist it. I will be coming to the Steam Fest in June 2026, which is coming next month. So keep your eyes tuned for that and check out the game because it's going to be super, super fun. If you never watched the trailer, it is a zombie survival FPS game, and it has some elements of bullet hell and adventure. So, yeah, I hope you check it out. So, in my game here, I have a few things. So, I have in my controller, I have a similar setup where I set the music and I start the music as soon as the player controller starts. I just call this custom event I created called initialize level music, and I call it on begin play. And what I do is I get the current level name, which is a default node in Blueprints. You can use it pretty much anywhere. And I use it to get the row name for a data table I created. And the structure I used, all it has in it is it's just called S music for level, and it has a sound base and 2 floats. And the data table I created with this structure, I have all my row names to match the level name, which you can see here. And then I just have a sound assigned to it, which is my music. And I have a start time and a fade in duration. So for my main menu, I should probably adjust some of these values, but I have a fade in duration of 2. And then the actual gameplay level, I have a little bit longer of a fade in. And yeah, of course you can, because this is in a data table, I can change this at any time, which is kind of nice. So yeah, I can call this event in any player controller I make that's even a child of this whenever, on begin play. If I decide I want to start my music at a different time or something. And yeah, this is a nice handy method of setting your music based on the level that you're loaded into. The next thing was the play music track. So the way I'm using this is I'm not overriding my music. I'm just returning to. That's kind of why I made this option, is because I just wanted to return to the whatever music I had playing before I played my stinger or bumper. So what happens in my game is this custom event I have is called whenever my match changes state. So I have a custom enum that I created. It has 6 different options. So waiting for players, match starting, round in progress, round break, and match complete. So lots of games have this kind of style where they have an enum or something defining what state their round or their game is in. Especially in multiplayer games, you want to have kind of some sort of representation for if your game is waiting for players to join the lobby or if the match is waiting to start and whatnot. So in my game specifically, when my round starts, I display a countdown for the round to the UI. So I have a reference to my player HUD widget and I just say, okay, display the countdown. And then I retrieve the timer for the countdown and I get the time remaining from the countdown and I use that as my custom duration for how long to play the song. So the nice thing about this is if there's some sort of very subtle time difference between when this event fires off, or sorry, when the countdown starts in the game state and this changes, and when this is received in my player controller. So that's why I get the time remaining and not the time, of the since it started or something like that. And it's a really easy way of using timer handles to drive the time of playing a song or something or anything you want really. Yeah, when the song finishes, then it will just go back to my music. So that's really nice. And there's a couple other things that I'm actually going to eventually add right after this, which is my bind events. So I do have 4 different bind events that I mentioned in the description of the plugin, and they are on music set, on music stopped, on music track finished and on music track started. So on music set and stopped, those are pretty explanatory. Whenever you call set music, this will broadcast an event to you, returning the new music sound that was set. On music stopped, if you call stop music, then this will return an event. It doesn't return any music because you are stopping the song. The other ones are for the music track here. So on music track finished, this will call an event when your music track finishes. So the on music track finish, it's important to note that it is called when the music track completely fades out, not when the fade out starts. So that's important. And on music track started, it does return a sound, and it returns the sound that you pretty much had set here. So if you have this bound in some other location or some other blueprint and you change this in the controller or something, then you can still retrieve the new music track that you played here in that location and do something with it. If it's a meta sound of some sort, of course you can change parameters on it. You can do whatever you want with it. So what I'm going to do is maybe play a sound on music track finished. So whenever this sound finishes, which is going to be based on my custom duration here, if I didn't input a custom duration, like I mentioned earlier, if it's just 0, then it will just play for the duration of whatever sound you play. So when it finishes, I can play a sound here. Now, I kind of already have this set up somewhere else, so I'm not going to, I'm going to unhook this, but this is how you can just play a sound when the stinger finishes. And to show it all in action, of course I have some music here. That starts when I load in. And then if I buy this door, my round starts, and you'll notice my music track will kick in. And then at the end, I play a sound as it fades back to the music that was playing prior to my music track. And of course, at any time, I can change the music, stop it, play another music track or something else, whatever I want to do with it. I hope you enjoyed my plugin, and thank you for watching.